Psychic Network Mayhem, a Datura trip report by no narrator of old, posted to earwid.org September 3rd, 2016. This occurred over 30 years ago, but the repercussions still occur. While in college, I was an avid fan of Carlos Castaneda, the writer who supposedly became the apprentice of a Mexican brujo. I read the books and teachings and tried to follow and understand the basics of the teachings, which I thought, with profound arrogance, I understood. The college was in northwest Pennsylvania, so there weren't too many of the natural entheogens available. Along the admin building, a biology teacher had planted a small patch of Datura plants, but I'm uncertain of their exact variety, not the vining varieties. These stood about 2 feet tall with very large leaves, but only a few seed pods. I first pulled a few leaves, dried them, and smoked them with no real effect, so I procured a root about 6 inches long and about as round as a smallish carrot. I cut the root into 2 or 3 pieces and gave my friend a piece, myself an equal-sized piece, and the remaining nugget was given to a second friend. Research wasn't easy back then. The PC was unknown, and it wasn't easy to get info. The research I found described them as a mild sedative. Those words will always stick in my mind. After about an hour, I became somewhat sleepy and laid down. The feeling that grew upon me is hard to describe, but is best summed up as being delirious. My balance was terrible, and I staggered considerably but wasn't afraid, more nervous. Well, I was way beyond that stage. I would frequently talk to people who weren't there and see things that didn't exist. It was like a dream in that I didn't think about the weird stuff. It just happened, like flying in a dream. You don't marvel that you can fly in a dream. You just do it like you could always fly and think nothing more of it than walking. The line between what was real and what was imagined disappeared. At times, I would carry on conversations with real people and imagined people at the very same time. It was like my reasoning mind had been shut down, leaving only experience, with no thoughts to what was real or not. My pupils were fully dilated and my mouth was absolutely bone dry. After a while, I laid down and had a strange experience, and I would hear a conversation between 2 people when I'd shut my eyes. It was like a phone circuit. Close eyes, and the voices immediately began conversing. Open the eyes, and the conversation stopped. I repeated this several times and began to listen to the conversation when I recognized one of the voices, which was my buddy's that also took the route. The voice that was conversing with him was mine. It was like listening to a normal voice recording with eyes shut, while being aware that I wasn't physically talking, but talking nonetheless. This went on for hours, when I finally fell asleep. While I was having my experience, my buddy who ate the other half of the root was having similar occurrences, although he happened to be visited by a girl he was dating at the time. He indicated that his girlfriend complained, and finally left in disgust, that while making love he would stop in mid-stroke and begin to talk to someone that wasn't even in the room. She finally got him to ID the other person, and he said it was me. So we were both delirious, but talking to each other via a psychic network of sorts. We tried to compare notes afterwards, and the subjects of the conversations seemed to be identical. Neither of us could read for a day or 2, but eventually, things did return to normal. Several others who took the route described psychic experiences, but the conversations they reported were only between those who took the routes, nobody else. This wasn't a pleasant experience, but it wasn't terrifying like a shroom overdose. It was far beyond that. The route seemed to stop the internal dialogue that accompanies us every day. Strange coincidences still occur 30 years later, sort of like an afterimage of the day long ago when I thought I understood the meaning of stopping the world. The routes can be very dangerous as you don't really know what is going on in reality, and you could easily walk out onto a highway without realizing any of the dangers. This isn't a buzz at all. It's a separate reality where reality and imagination merge, but the laws of physics are rooted in the normal reality. You can't fly in reality, but you can in dreams. Imagine doing some of the stuff you can do in dreams, but with the consequences of the acts being real. Truly strange, delirious, and dangerous. The Other Side, a Datura and cannabis trip report by Jason. Posted to earwid.org, October 16th, 2007. This is probably the strangest collection of events that have ever occurred to me. Let me tell you what happened in my point of view, okay? I'll start before I even knew about Datura, or even taking it for that matter. It was Wednesday, and I had a normal day. I went to sleep, and when I woke up, it was Friday. Now, I had no idea how that happened, but I eventually assumed I was retarded, and yesterday was Thursday, not Wednesday. So, it was Friday, and I had another normal day. Went to bed, and woke up on Saturday on schedule. Later that night, my buddy comes up to me with these flowers, tells me that they are angel's trumpets, and if I took them, I'd trip balls. I went ahead and made some tea with the 4 flowers he gave me, and then turned the tea into some Kool-Aid, which tasted like normal Kool-Aid. Sat on the couch watching TV and smoking pot, waiting for the effects to kick in. My buddy is there to watch. He didn't want to do them yet, so if I do something stupid, then he can settle me down. Now, about an hour and a half later, I get up and feel a bit off level. It's not like being drunk, but it felt like it. Felt like I can feel how fast the earth is moving, and every now and then, I would lose my balance and grab onto something nearby. I stepped out onto the front porch for some air, and saw some black dude trying to get into my buddy's truck. By now, I don't feel drunk anymore because I'm focused on something else. I yell at the guy, "What the hell are you doing by that truck?" The man doesn't react, so I run back inside to tell my buddy some dude is trying to break into his truck. So I run back outside, and the guy walks around to the other side of the truck to try the other door. I walk towards him, asking what the hell he is trying to do. I'd seen him walk around the truck, and he crouched down to where I could only see his head. I walk up to him, tap him on the head, and well, what do you know? I was tapping the side view mirror of the truck, which I thought was this guy's head. He completely vanished into the truck. I was like, what the fuck's just happened here? I laughed a little because I already knew that it was the Datura making me see actual people walk around. So my buddy was telling me he didn't see anyone there, and I just told him never mind because I just hallucinated a real life looking person trying to break into your truck. Went back inside the house and my buddy went to his room. I look out the window to see if the dude came back yet, and amazingly, I see an old man, woman, and 3 kids sitting inside my buddy's truck. I also noticed that they were transparent, so I figured that they were probably ghosts. I went back outside to take a closer look at them, but the closer I got, the more they started to fade away. Vice versa, I decided to experiment and start walking backwards towards my house, and they started to fade back in. I looked around the yard, trying to play with my eyes, focusing in and out. Then I discovered orbs floating all over the place near the ground. I couldn't actually see them, they kinda distort whatever is behind it. Like the grass was distorted and looked like small spheres I could see through. I felt completely normal on the mental side. I didn't have any slurred speech or anything. The only thing that changed was my vision. It's like I had the 6th sense, and it was pretty cool, I guess. Went back inside, and when I did, some of the orbs and misty entities followed me inside. When I shut the door, I heard a knock right away. I opened it, and it was my group of friends. They wanted to come and chill, so I let them all in. Some of them were transparent, ghost-like, while some looked as real as can be. I shut the door and went to the bathroom to see my eyes. Wow, I didn't even have blue eyes anymore. My eyes were just as black as the devil himself. I was like, whoa, and truly amazed. Went back out into the living room and everyone had disappeared. However, I knew they were still there because when I looked at the TV, I could see their faint reflections off of the TV screen. Now that I know I can see them via mirror reflections, I asked them to follow me into the bathroom for another experiment. I lit a candle and shut the bathroom door. I didn't see them in the mirror anymore, but when I looked at the bottle of Listerine on the sink, I saw its shadow on the wall from the candle, and I also saw 2 hands trying to push to the top of the bottle shadow, and 2 more shadow hands pushing the bottom of the bottle on my side. I figured that they wanted to try and move the bottle, but no matter how hard they tried to move it, I only saw the bottle scoot a little, just a few times. Well, I guess it takes a lot of energy from the other side to make any changes on this side. I told them they could stop trying, and the shadowy hands let go of the bottle, fading away into the shadows. I left the bathroom and went inside my room. I have a couple of dresser mirrors sitting in the corner of my room, and I saw a couple of my friends, by reflection, sitting on my bed and in another corner of my room smoking pot. I went to go get my pot to smoke, then noticed my buddy was walking around. Asked me if I wanted to hit the pipe. He just wandered away from me and faded away. Well, I was pretty confused, but then I remembered he told me he was going to bed before I went into the bathroom. I went to knock on his bedroom door to wake him up. He then appeared again in the living room and then walked back into his room right through the door. To which afterwards, I heard a sonic boom. My buddy had woke up, come out of his room to ask me what I wanted. I told him I just saw his spirit wandering around while he was asleep. He said, "Cool. You know, that probably really was my spirit wandering around, because that's what happens when everyone sleeps." Right then, I realised that all the spirits outside my door was probably everyone in the neighbourhood sleeping at home. Another thing, when I went to go wake up my buddy, I noticed the clock said 2:30 PM. After he woke up and we chilled in the living room, the clock said 12:30 PM. Damn, I was confused, but I guess I was in the future too for a while. I was ready to go take a nap, so I went to sleep for a few hours. But when I woke up, my eyes were still dilated, and I wasn't able to read anything closer than 2 feet in front of me. Thankfully, the effects wore off after just a couple of days.